Walk into any celebration, anywhere in the world, and you will eventually see this exact ritual. We raise our glasses, look each other in the eye, and say cheers to honor the newlyweds, the graduate, or just the weekend. But think about the word we use to describe that moment, a toast. By definition, that means a piece of scorched bread. Yet look inside those champagne flutes or pint glasses, and you'll notice a distinct lack of baked goods floating around in the liquid. So how exactly did a soggy slice of carbohydrates completely vanish from our drinking vessels while managing to permanently hijack our vocabulary for celebration? The answer lies in the grim reality of historical drinking. The language we use for our most elegant gatherings is actually an accidental fossil, left over from a time when primitive beverage filtration was a matter of basic survival. If you dig into the history of the toast, you'll often hear a widely repeated myth about the ancient Romans. The story goes that they physically dropped chunks of burnt bread into their goblets to neutralize the acidity of bad wine. The archaeological record points to a different method entirely. The Romans stored their fermenting wine in dolia, massive, porous earthenware jars that they buried deep in the ground to regulate temperature and humidity. That subterranean environment allowed specific surface yeasts to thrive. These yeasts produced a chemical compound called sotalon, which imparts a highly oxidative aroma to the liquid. Because of this, Roman wine frequently smelled strongly of walnuts, roasted spices, and toasted bread, even though there was no actual bread in the jar. The physical practice of putting baked goods into alcoholic beverages actually originated much later, in 16th and 17th century England. Back then, everyday domestic wines and ales were highly acidic, bitter, and thick with floating sediment. Drinkers would drop slices of scorched, spiced bread, known as sops, into their tankards. The highly porous, carbonized surface of that charred bread acted as a primitive carbon filter. It physically absorbed the bitter tannins and volatile organic compounds while neutralizing the excess acid, making the harsh liquor drinkable. For centuries, the toast existed as a literal piece of culinary technology, a necessary physical tool used to force down a poorly made pint of ale. By the late 17th century, this crude filtration tactic entered English high society. The turning point is often traced to a famous anecdote from the spa town of Bath in 1709, where an enamored gentleman supposedly scooped a cup of bathwater and drank to the health of a beautiful woman waiting in the pool. This birthed a linguistic shift driven by metonymy, a figure of speech where an associated object comes to represent a larger abstract concept. The gentlemen of the era applied a sort of poetic logic to their drinking rituals. Because a literal piece of spiced toast dramatically improved the flavor and quality of a communal bowl of wine, they declared that the presence of a charming, beautiful woman figuratively flavored the room and elevated the entire social experience. Soon, these highly celebrated women were nominated to receive the honors of the table, and they became known as the toast of the town. The term successfully detached itself from the bakery item and attached itself permanently to a person. In the span of a few decades, Enlightenment-era elites took a working-class tool for filtering bad booze and transformed it into a metaphor for human charm and social prestige. But what about the physical action that always accompanies a toast, the clink of the glasses? You have probably heard the story that medieval drinkers smashed their tankards together aggressively to spill wine into each other's cups. The idea was to prove that neither person was attempting an assassination via poisoning. Like the Roman bread myth, this popular theory collapses under the weight of material reality. Throughout antiquity and the Middle Ages, drinking vessels were predominantly fabricated from wood, clay, pewter, or animal horn. Those materials do not produce a resonant ring when struck, nor do their thick rims allow for easy liquid transference without spilling everywhere. The true catalyst for the clink arrived alongside the toast of the town, with the late 17th century invention of high-quality, clear lead crystal. Philosophers and cultural commentators of the time argued for a concept known as sensory completeness. Drinking a fine wine naturally engaged the sight of the liquid, the touch of the glass, the smell of the bouquet, and the taste of the vintage. Striking these resonant glasses together provided an aesthetic enhancement that fully engaged all 5 human senses during a moment of celebration. Today, massive advancements in commercial brewing and distillation have completely eliminated the physical need to drop carbonized bread into our cups. Yet the word managed to outlive its physical form. It shed its literal meaning entirely, evolving into a universally understood secular verb for honoring human connection. We no longer use a toast to filter out harsh tannins, bad odors, or floating sediment from a poorly aged ale. Instead, the ritual of the toast now acts as a filter for our modern lives. It forces a deliberate analog pause, a quiet command to look each other in the eye, raise a glass, and share genuine connection.
Subscribe to us for more such videos.